today we are making nachos tray bake. So it's a little bit of a combination recipe in that we all love nachos, and you can make a vegetarian, you can make a meat dish, you can do chicken, you can do all sorts of things. But today we're making a beef dish. Well, that's the one I'm going to be using. And it's sort of like a little bit like a chili con carne in a way. So it's like chili con carne and nachos popped together. Great. All right. Of course, at the beginning of every single class, we chat about our 5 safety tips, which are wash your hands, keep your hands away from your nose and your mouth, cough and sneeze into your elbow, speak nicely about food, and keep your utensils pointing downwards. Great. So let me read through our recipe here. All right. So the recipe says 10 minutes for prep time, and cook time altogether is about 30 minutes. This serves 4. If you've got extras, you can always use some more meat or add some more beans to expand it out a bit, but that's what we're doing today. All right, so I'm going to read through the ingredients. All we're doing here is checking that we've got the ingredients checked off. Great. So you'll need some vegetable oil. You'll need an onion, garlic clove or minced garlic, some mince, any type of mince will do. I'm using beef today. Some canned tomatoes or diced tomatoes, some kidney beans. I have got like 7 million tins of black beans, so I'm using black beans. It's the same thing. Tomato sauce. I've just got a little bit of pizza sauce here, so I'm using that instead. Jalapenos. So if you like chili, great. If your family doesn't use chili, this dish is very nice without it. You'll need some corn chips. Got my corn chips. May have had a couple of little, just like you can see the packets open. I had to test just to see if they're still okay. Great. You'll need some, either some Mexican 3 cheese mix, or you can just use some, I've got some tasty cheese there. Great. Let me make sure that my camera is not doing weird things. All right, great. You'll need some avocado dip. Now this is optional. I've got some avocado dip there. You can always make your own guac. Some sour cream underneath there, and some coriander. Now, if you don't love coriander, I've just got parsley leaves here because I bought a big bunch last week and it is interchangeable. Great. You will need, in terms of equipment, you'll need measuring cups and spoons, a large saucepan, chopping board, a knife, a large baking dish. So I've just got a dish like this that you can pop into the oven. The other thing that you can do is you can use some big ramekins. So if you want to do individual portions, you can do that. I'm going to do that just because I've got a bunch of different people coming at different times. And so we can bake it at different, so it's nice and fresh. So where am I? So a large baking dish, some tongs, a large spoon or a wooden spoon, some oven mitts, some baking paper, and of course a heat-proof mat. Great. Girls, are you ready to go? All right, excellent. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to turn your oven onto 200 degrees. 200 degrees. So that's Celsius. Right. 200 degrees. If you are watching this and you work in Fahrenheit, it is 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Great. Excellent. Now, if you are using a baking dish, my suggestion is that you line the bottom of it with some baking paper. Just pop a sheet of baking paper at the bottom, and it's going to make it a little bit easier for you to clean it up at the end. Now, because I'm using my individual ramekins, I'm not going to do that. And remember, you can stop the video at any point. All right, if you're watching it behind. And once you've done that, pop your dish out of the way, and then we'll get into making the sauce. Wonderful. All right, so let me remove my face because you guys don't need my face. Brilliant. All right, so by now you will have your onion chopped up. You'll need your meat. You will need the minced garlic. And you'll need your beans. Great. All right, so move over to the stovetop. Move over to the stovetop. And we're going to heat our fry pan over a medium heat. Medium heat, and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vegetable oil. So turning it on. The medium heat, whatever that is for your stovetop. If you're not sure, ask someone at home. Beautiful. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of oil to your fry pan. I'm just measuring at the side. 1. After a while, you'll be able to judge how much things measure. But when we're learning, we just measure everything. All right, then I'm just going to grab a little piece of onion. I'm going to throw that in the oil. And I've got my wooden spoon. So I popped a little piece of onion into the fry pan. Great. And then you can see, or might be able to hear, that it's starting to sizzle. As soon as it starts to sizzle, that means that the oil is hot enough. And we're going to add the rest of the onion. Beautiful. And then just move the oil around the pan, not the oil, the onion around the pan, so that the oil is covered. The garlic, I'm saying all sorts of random things today, so that the onion is covered with oil. And we're going to cook this for about 1 minute. Beautiful. So just nice and gently. If you feel like it is starting to brown too much, you can turn the heat down, and you can also add a little bit more oil. But remember, we're going to add the meat, and the meat is quite fatty. So after a minute, you can add 1 garlic clove or half a teaspoon of minced garlic. So 1 whole garlic clove or half a teaspoon of minced garlic. Make sure that you pop your lid back on. Now I'm stirring that through. Beautiful. We're only going to cook that for 1 minute. We're going to cook the garlic for 1 minute, and then after a minute, you can immediately add your beef mince. We don't want our garlic to burn because that smells horrendous. So you can see that I'm holding my spoon, my wooden spoon, as far back as possible. And I'm going to break up the beef with the end of my spoon. You don't want to, I mean, you can flatten it, but you really want to be breaking it up. Stirring it around. So what we're doing here is we're browning our meat. So use the edge of your spoon to keep breaking up your beef. Mine's still a little bit frozen, so I'm turning it over.
How long are we cooking the mince for?
Until it's brown. Yep. Until all of it, there's no pink bits left or raw bits. Good question, Aaliyah. The recipe says for about 5 minutes or until browned. So if it's browned, then you can move on to the next stage, which is adding your tomatoes. But we're just going to brown our meat. And we want our meat to be brown because, number one, remember we've talked about when we brown our meat, that's flavor. You could put everything in a pan and boil it, but when you boil meat, it goes tough. And we don't want to boil it, we want to fry it. Here we go. So we're looking, so keep going all the way around the pan. You can see that I'm going all the way around. Otherwise, we'll end up with bits cooked over there and raw bits elsewhere. So just keep you constantly turning the meat over. Beautiful. So what I'm doing, because I had a little bit of frozen meat, is try to break those up because they are still a little bit raw. So as soon as your meat is browned, you want to give it a nice little fry. And then we're going to add 1 whole can of diced tomatoes. 1 whole can of diced tomatoes. Breaking up that last little bit. Now, if your meat is quite fatty, then you'll find that you've got quite a lot of liquid in the bottom. If you can, drain some of that out by asking for help or taking a spoon of the liquid and putting it into a cup. Because we don't want the meat to boil. All right, so you can see that there's no raw meat anymore. So I am going to add my tomatoes first, and that's going to cool the mixture down. I've got whole tomatoes, so I'm going to use the side of my spoon, right, and break up those tomatoes. Ideally, if you've got diced, it's much better. I'll often try to use ingredients that I've got at my house before I go to the shop. The diced tomatoes and whole tomatoes, pretty much the same. They're the same ingredient. They are just prepared differently. So I'm breaking that. All right, so once you've added your diced tomatoes and stir them in a bit, then you're going to add your kidney beans. So 1 can of kidney beans. Remember, I've got black beans because I have them. So 1 can of diced tomatoes, 1 can of kidney beans, 1 can of kidney beans. Make sure they're drained and put through the sieve. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce. So this is going to add a little bit of sweetness, flavor, and color. Now I've just got pizza sauce because it's the next best thing. Beautiful. We're going to sneeze. All right. So we've got the kidney beans, the can of diced tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And then if you're using jalapeno peppers, you can pop them in now as well. Just be super careful. I make mine into big chunks so that they're easy to pull out for those people in my family that don't like them. And then we're going to stir everything around. So make sure that you take your spoon all the way around the edges so that those ingredients on the edge are coming into the middle. Now, if you have any taco mix, you can add some taco mix to this if you had it at home. I'm just going to leave mine as is. We're going to add some salt and pepper to it at the end, And what we're doing here, this is a super, super easy recipe, so we're not going to get too complex. But we want that to simmer for about 15 minutes. So turn your heat down so it's just simmering. And what that's going to do is it's going to thicken the sauce a little bit and bring flavor. But we only want just simmering. So you might be able to see that I've got some bubbles there. It's simmering away. Now, if your mixture is too dry and it's catching on the bottom or cooking, burning a little bit on the bottom, what you can do is add a little bit of water. So you don't want to add a lot of water. So always start with a tablespoon and then give it a stir around and add it tablespoon by tablespoon, because we don't want to put so much sauce on top of our corn chips that they go all soggy. I've got some big chunky bits of tomato here. So we're going to let that cook. You can cook that for up to 15 minutes. While we're waiting, what we'll do is do the next stage of the recipe. What's the time? Now you might wonder, on some fry pans, there's a hole. What you can do with that is you can stick your wooden spoon there. Some people hang up their fry pans. I'm just going to pop my spoon there so it just drips. Any drips go back into the fry pan. Great. All right, ladies, how are we traveling? Great, love it. Look at you, all food safety. Well done, Aaliyah. Fantastic. All right, so mine is just simmering. You can see there's all the little bubbles there. We're just going to simmer that. While we're waiting, we'll do two things. You can put your corn chips into the bottom of your baking dish. Now, remember, I'm just doing individuals here. Now, some people love corn chips on the bottom, and some people love corn chips at the side so that they can dip their corn chips into the chili. So just spread it out amongst, and make sure that you've got it a decent amount in there. So I've just got the mission chips here. It's amazing. Just move them around a bit in your tray so that they're sitting nicely. Right, I'm going to put that one in there. Just so that when you do put your meat on top, you can see little bits of corn chips that can easily be picked up and dipped. No, I'm going to move that out of the way. Beautiful. Great. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is chop up my coriander or parsley, whatever you've got. So this is going to do two things. This gives us flavor so that you've got lots of flavor. And whether you're using parsley or whether you're using coriander, but it's also going to give color. So I'm really careful. You can see that I'm using the claw method. Nice and slowly, I'm just chopping up my herbs. Right, I'm pushing them together nice and slowly so that they are ready to go. Just going to push them to the side of my board. Perfect. All right, so you can see that's bubbling away really nicely. I keep checking it just to make sure that it's not going to burn on the bottom, so that there's enough liquid in there, but not it's not sloppy. So I'm going to give that just a little stir. That's nice. Now, the next part of this recipe, we're going to work sort of backwards a bit. We're going to bake our nachos with the mince for 10 minutes in the oven. So work out when you're going to have dinner. So if you're going to have dinner in about 10, 15 minutes time, that's when you put your tray into the oven. But what you can do is you can keep cooking your sauce until you are on a nice low heat, until you're ready to put your baking tray in the oven. So if you're not going to eat till about 6:30, you don't need to put your tray into the oven until 20 past 6. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, just so that you can see what I'm doing. But you don't have to do yours until you're about to have dinner. Now, what we will need to do is add some salt. So I would add a teaspoon of salt. Where's my taste it and see. Mix my salt in, because the salt brings out the flavors of all the other ingredients. Otherwise, it will be a bit bland. So bland means it doesn't have a strong flavor. And the other thing that you can do with Mexican food is you can add 2 teaspoons of lime juice or lemon juice. And that's an acid. And what that does is it brings out the flavor even more so. So if you want to, you can add 2 teaspoons of lemon or lime juice. And then taste it. Taste it and see. Because it won't taste like lemon or lime, but it will change the flavor. All right. So I've got my mince on top here. And I can tell that my oven is already heated up nicely. And you can add as much or as little as you want. Right. Beautiful. So look and see, is there enough for dipping? A little bit more to this guy here. So you might find you don't want to, well, I don't want to smother it all the way to the edges, because you want to be able to see your gorgeous corn chips. Then I'm going to sprinkle my cheese on top. And you can put as much or as little cheese as you want to. If you've got some mozzarella cheese, you can do mozzarella cheese as well. So you can see from the top that it is, you can see the corn chips, you can see the meat, and you can see the cheese. And then once you've done that, you can put your baking tray into the oven. Now let me. So I've got my little mini oven because I've got an oven issue. So beautiful. And then we're going to bake them in the oven for 10 minutes until your cheese is nice and bubbling. And because remember, the corn chips are cooked, the meat is already cooked. And so all we're really doing is melting that beautiful cheese. And then when the cheese comes, when the dish comes out of the oven, you can then, if you want to, you can put a scoop of your avocado dip on there. You can put a scoop of sour cream on there as well. And then, of course, you're going to sprinkle it with this beautiful coriander or parsley. Perfect. That's it. So the next step for ladies in the live class, add your salt. So it was a teaspoon of salt to your pan. And if you've got some lemon juice, you want to add 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. Beautiful. Excellent. Now, I'm going to stay on the class until it comes out of the oven, but if you would like to leave now, feel free to do that and cook the rest of it in your own time. Beautiful. Fantastic. All right. So all right, we'll see you next time. Bye, Anna.
Do we just cook it 10 minutes before we eat dinner?
Yeah, that's exactly what you do, Aaliyah. So I was working out, say if you're going to have dinner at 6:30, say, you would put it into the oven at 20 past 6. And then it's 10 minutes. Watch it. You could even put it under the grill if that's a little bit faster, but pop it in the oven 10 minutes, and then using your oven mitts, you probably need to ask for help. Take it out, and then you can either put the avocado dip on top, or you could serve it individually, and then everyone can take some and serve whatever they want to have on theirs as well. The other thing that I've got is, I just found that in the cupboard, is a little salsa dish, as a packet of salsa, so that you could put a little tub of salsa out. Beautiful. That's it. All right, my darling. Thank you for being so patient with me over the last few weeks. Really appreciate that, darling. So we'll see you next time. Enjoy dinner. Fantastic. So now we've got all this beautiful cheese, and it's melted and it's gooey. So good. Now remember that the baking dish is really, really hot, so you'll need to use oven mitts or a rolled up tea towel in order to do that. Wonderful. And it's ready to eat. So of course, if you want to serve on top some avocado dip or some sour cream, you can do that. Or I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that beautiful parsley on top. How good does that look? Great. All right. Of course, last thing that we're doing, pack, wash, wipe. Pack away all the ingredients and the equipment that you finished with, wash up, and then wipe down your bench. Beautiful. All right. Happy cooking.